Hi all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. Police in Letcher County, Kentucky say they're shaken to the core after one of their own, a sheriff, was arrested for shooting and unaliving a district judge in his chambers on September 19th of 2024. They, along with the residents of their close-knit county, where they say everybody knows everybody, were shocked to hear that their sheriff, Sean Steins, shot Judge Kevin Mullins multiple times in his chamber, where reports say the two had an argument. Witnesses who heard the gunshot said they didn't hear what the two were arguing about, but they did see Sheriff Steins walk into Judge Mullins' courtroom with his hands up. Reports say Sheriff Steins was immediately arrested, and he's being charged with first-degree murder. Now, as if that story isn't shocking enough, it gets darker. Much darker. Even though police say they don't yet know what the sheriff and the judge were arguing about, reports have been coming out since the shooting about a scandal surrounding the sheriff, the judge, and a previous deputy sheriff that may, and I say may because we don't yet know for sure, but may have something to do with what occurred in the judge's chambers. The story is, so far, that Sheriff Steins was deposed this week in a federal case involving a deputy sheriff who worked under him and was a bailiff in Judge Mullins' courtroom. Allegedly, and this story gets pretty sick, the deputy sheriff struck a deal with a female defendant in a case where she was ordered to wear an ankle monitor, that she wouldn't have to wear the ankle monitor as long as she performed sex favors for him. Sorry I have to spell things out and speak to you like your little children, but YouTube requires it, and if I don't do it, they'll take my video down. But I know it's annoying, so I apologize. So, allegedly, the female defendant stated in the lawsuit she filed about the deputy sheriff that the favors had been going on for a period of 6 months, and they took place in Judge Mullins' chambers. Now, I don't know if the judge knew anything about this backdoor deal the deputy sheriff made with the defendant, or the abuse that was occurring in his chambers. But Sheriff Steins, from what we know so far, got pulled in to be deposed about the case because he was the deputy sheriff's supervisor, and he's being accused of not properly investigating the allegations made against his deputy. Then, just days after Sheriff Steins does his deposition, he shoots and unalives the judge whose chambers the acts took place in.
It's a shocking headline making national news. A Letcher County district judge is dead after authorities say the county sheriff shot and killed him in the judge's chambers after an argument. Whitesburg is in Letcher County, Kentucky, near the border of Kentucky and West Virginia. The small town only has a population of about 1,700 people. He couldn't be booked in the local jail, so the sheriff had to be booked 2 counties over. Letcher County Sheriff Sean Steins is now being held in the Leslie County Jail. This comes as police work to understand a motive, and the small eastern Kentucky town tries to process what happened.
We walked down and sat across from it, and I'm still in shock. It's unreal.
Today, Isaiah Kim Martinez and senior photojournalist Alyssa Newton spoke with attorneys and a former judge here in Louisville, also still processing this news.
A disturbing display of violence playing out inside an eastern Kentucky courthouse. Letcher County District Judge Kevin Mullins shot and killed in his own chambers. And authorities believe it was the sheriff, Sean Steins, who pulled the trigger and shot him multiple times after an argument.
We could use everybody's prayers. Send prayers for the family that they get through this difficult time.
Matt Butler, the state prosecutor for the area, on Facebook sharing his personal connection to the judge.
His daughters are my nieces, and that my 2 oldest kids are his niece and nephew.
The tragic news came as a shock to so many across the state, including attorneys and former judges right here in Louisville who were quick to denounce any kind of violence inside the courthouse. I sat down with retired District Court Judge Janice Martin.
It affects us all when you see violence like this, because you don't anticipate someone getting shot outside a courthouse, somebody as a judge getting shot in their chambers, much less by a law enforcement officer. So it's very disturbing.
And former prosecutor attorney Carl Price.
I was shocked. Had to take a deep breath because, of course, we work in the court system. But generally, the deputies who carry the firearms in the courtroom, first and foremost, are like family to the judges, right? So you feel safe in that regard.
There are questions surrounding a federal lawsuit against Sheriff Steins, accused of turning a blind eye to one of his deputies sexually abusing a woman in that same judge's chambers.
It would be a locked area, and only the judge and his staff would have access to that.
Attorney Kent Wicker of Louisville telling me he'll be watching closely to see what investigators conclude to be the motive.
Does the motive suggest this is really a one-off? Or does the motive suggest that there's a systematic problem that needs to be corrected by different policy measures? So that's what I'd want to know.
Mullins died at the scene and Steins surrendered to authorities. A KSP spokesperson saying the sheriff is charged with first-degree murder. Isaiah Kim Martinez, WHAS 11, on your side.
Kentucky Attorney General Russell Coleman says his office will work with the Commonwealth Attorney in London, Kentucky, as the special prosecutor in this case.
As this small-town crime reaches national headlines, we're digging into the details, learning more about Mullins and Steins' backgrounds.
Megan Mannering joins us now in studio with what we've learned so far. Megan, can you tell us?
Hey guys, well, based on their backgrounds, I can tell you that these two men would have crossed paths, been in the same room many times over the years. Let's start with the shooting victim, Judge Kevin Mullins. The 54-year-old was an assistant Commonwealth's attorney for 8 years before former Governor Steve Beshear appointed him district judge in 2009. And for some time, Mullins' suspected shooter, Sheriff Mickey Steins, served as the bailiff in his courtroom. After his time as a bailiff, Mickey Steins was elected sheriff. That was in 2018, and he was reelected in 2022. And I'll tell you, the controversies in Sheriff Steins' department began long before yesterday's shooting. Sheriff Steins was listed as a defendant in a lawsuit regarding one of his deputies, an inmate, and sexual favors. The victim claims that when she couldn't pay for her ankle bracelet, Deputy Fields proposed an arrangement. The plaintiff in this case also sued Sheriff Mickey Steins, alleging negligent hiring, training, and supervision of Deputy Fields. Now, we confirmed with the attorney Bethany Baxter today that Sheriff Steins was deposed on Monday. After spending 4 to 5 hours with him, she told me that she is just as shocked as everyone else by the shooting, and she's unsure if the crime has anything to do with their case.
I agree with you. There's definitely more to this story. A sheriff, according to the members of the community, a well-liked and admired sheriff, known to many of the residents of Letcher County as a good man, a good family man. Up in Shoots, a well-known and also, according to the residents of Letcher County, beloved judge in the courthouse, basically out in public, didn't even try to hide it. And according to news reports, Steins and Mullins knew each other well, because Steins also served as bailiff in Mullins' courtroom before being promoted to sheriff.
I want to bring in Mike Watts. He is the Letcher County Circuit Court Clerk, and he has known both Judge Mullins and Sheriff Steins for years and considered both men a friend. This is such an incredibly tragic story and so confusing. Mike, thank you for joining me tonight, and I am so sorry for your loss and what your community is going through right now. Can you walk us through the day and the hours leading up to this shooting about what these two men did?
I have no information at all about what occurred or why it occurred. I know our county is devastated. We've lost 2 county officials, personal friends of mine for years. I've worked with both men closely throughout their careers.
Was there any animosity? Was there any acrimony? Was there anything that you knew about that did not seem right about the relationship between these two men?
None at all. None that I knew of. I didn't know of anything that.
So, Mike, I just detailed that there had been this deposition that the sheriff had sat for about this terrible crime that one of the sheriff's deputies had pleaded guilty to, and that potentially the judge had some information. Does any of this comport with your knowledge of maybe some consternation between the sheriff and the judge because this lawsuit was ongoing?
Not that I know of. No. I know both.
So the sheriff didn't. Go ahead.
I know both men personally. That they didn't. Either one told me anything that they had a problem with the other, that anything was going on. Both of them has been good for our county and community. The whole county is just devastated over it. Both men have been active in the community.
Is the whole county, including you, completely confounded by how or why this happened?
Of course, yes.
Nobody has a clue.
No one has a clue that I know of.
Sorry, we've got some crosstalk because of a delay, but I need to ask you, the local paper said that there's video in the judge's office, perhaps even in chambers, because the local paper says the video shows what happened. And I just laid out that both men looked at their phones right before the shooting, and that the sheriff came around Judge Mullins' desk and opened fire 8 times. Is that accurate? Do you know of the video showing this?
I know of the video. I've not seen the video. I'm not sure what it showed.
Have you discussed the video and the contents of the video with anybody else, court employees, witnesses, anyone else who can corroborate that, yes, indeed, that is what happened?
That's my understanding.
So just to be clear, it is your understanding that that is exactly what played out. What the local paper is reporting is shown on a video. You're telling me tonight that that series of events, in your understanding, did play out like that?
Some of it did, I think. I think, from my understanding, they Judge Mullins handed the sheriff his phone. The sheriff looked at both phones. He had 2 phones one phone in each hand. He reviewed the phones. He laid the judge's phone back down and then stood up.
They had been seated prior to that when this phone exchange happened?
Yes.
And was there an audible argument? Was there yelling? There was some reporting yesterday that they had been arguing. Is that what happened, or was it all quiet?
I don't know. I couldn't answer that. I do not know. The Kentucky State Police is investigating the crime. We all are looking for answers. I've not only lost a county judge, our district judge, but our county sheriff and 2 personal friends.
Was the door to chambers open to the staffers in the anteroom?
No.
Did those staffers who were in the outside room, outside of chambers, did they report hearing anything prior to the shots?
No argument, no.
And what about just conversation? Was there a normal conversation in normal tones prior to the shots?
They couldn't hear. The sheriff walked in and asked whoever was in the chambers that he needed to speak with the judge in private, and the doors were closed.
And they couldn't hear any other conversation after that, even that there was conversation?
No, the next thing they heard is gunshots, I think, and they didn't realize if they were from the outside or if someone had came in or what. They evacuated the building.
After the sheriff allegedly fired 8 shots, killing Judge Mullins, what does the video show him doing right after that?
Again, I have not seen the video.
What have you been told it shows?
That he picked up the phone again, the judge's phone, and looked at it and laid it back down and walked out.
So after the shots were fired, he did not render assistance. He did not check the judge. He picked up the judge's phone off the desk again, looked at it, and then walked out of the office?
From my understanding, again, I've not seen the video.
What did he say to the people outside the office the moment he came out?
There's no one there, I don't think.
And so where did he walk to after he left Chambers?
He exited the courthouse.
He didn't come into contact with anyone in the courthouse until he came outside on the front steps?
He came out a side entrance, turned and walked back in the front entrance.
When he walked back in the front entrance, what happened after that? What was he doing going back into the courthouse?
The first responders were responding. Of course, they probably thought he was there to assist them until he walked back in the courthouse, back into the courtroom, is my understanding, and laid his revolver or his pistol down on one of the tables.
At the very front of the courthouse, he laid his, is that his service revolver you're saying, or his service pistol?
In the courtroom. He walked back in the courtroom. From my understanding, again, I didn't see the video, so I'm not, it was just my understanding that he walked back in the courtroom and took his pistol out and laid it on one of the attorney tables.
And then surrendered to the responders who were in that courtroom?
That's my understanding.
And can you just tell me again, was it his service pistol or was it his personal weapon?
I do not know.
Was he in uniform?
He was not.
Was he on duty?
He was on duty 24 hours, 7 days a week. These are both honorable men. These both are honorable. They were elected by the good citizens of Letcher County. They both served admirably in their positions they held. Sheriff Steins fought the drug epidemic with everything he had in him. He worked 24 hours, 7 days a week. Judge Mullins was a very strong component of, instead of incarcerating individuals, after years being on the bench, he realized that it wasn't working, and he was working along with Sheriff Steins to get people in treatment and giving them a second chance.
So, Mike, I'm glad you said that, because one of my big questions has been, because the judge had a different viewpoint on incarcerating people with drug offenses and favored instead rehabilitation, was that a point of contention between the sheriff and the judge, or did they work together in concert on that theory?
They worked together, hand in hand. Sheriff Steins would take them to treatment. He would offer people to come into his office and voluntarily go and not be arrested to treatment.
Do you suspect then that any consternation that may have led to this shooting then is likely from the other issue, and that was what the federal lawsuit was about, and the criminal case with the other bailiff and sheriff's deputy? Is that what you suspect this is then about?
I have no idea. I don't want to speculate. There's two families that's lost loved ones. Our county is devastated by this loss. We're a strong mountain community. We've been through a lot. We had a July 2022 flood devastated the county. Both men delivered supplies to flood victims. I have no idea what happened.
Mike Watts, I reiterate my condolences to you having lost your friend, and then I am so sorry that you're going through this additional trauma of dealing with whatever it was that may have driven the sheriff to do this. I know it's alleged right now, but my goodness, these facts are troubling. Mr. Watts, thank you. I'm going to call on you again. I do appreciate this tonight.
Folks, this story is bizarre, to say the least. And I think we're just at the beginning of what we're going to find out about what's really going on behind closed doors in the legal system of Letcher County. I have a feeling we're standing at the top of a dark, dark rabbit hole, staring down inside. But I'm not so sure this is a rabbit hole we're going to want to go down if it's starting out this sinister already. But I'd bet it goes deep. Very, very deep. Here's a press conference given by police just hours after the sheriff's arrest. As far as I know, this is all the information police have provided to the public so far. Thank you as always for watching. I appreciate it. Stay safe out there, and here is the police press conference.
So far about the investigation.
This investigation today, Kentucky State Police Post 13 has received a call shortly before 3 p.m. In reference to shots being fired inside the Letcher County Courthouse. Multiple law enforcement agencies from around the area, along with emergency services, responded to the area and located District Judge Kevin Mullins with several gunshot wounds. Life-saving measures were taken, however, were unsuccessful. He was pronounced deceased on scene by Letcher County Coroner's Office. At that time, preliminary investigation indicated that Letcher County Sheriff Mickey Sean Steins fired at District Judge Kevin Mullins following an argument inside the courthouse.
Now, was there any motive, or was this just, did he go there to do that, or what do you...
At this time, that's questions that we're still trying to get answers to, what led up to the actual shooting itself and the moments prior to.
Sir, did the shooting take place inside the judge's chambers?
That's correct.
Was anyone else present?
There was other people present inside the building as well.
But not inside the chambers?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is there video, a camera that's inside that chamber?
As far as I'm aware, I think there is video from within the facility.
Are you able to tell us where those gunshots were at?
As far as locations, I do not. That's information that I don't know. And again, that's stuff that will be uncovered and identified later on.
How many shots?
At this time, we don't know.
Did you speak to any of the witnesses you mentioned?
Me personally, I did not. Every witness that was inside the building will be interviewed as standard protocol throughout the investigation.
The sheriff turned himself in?
That's correct. He was arrested on scene without incident shortly after officials arrived.
Do we know if he's
personal?
At this time, I am unable to answer.
Do we know if he's cooperated yet?
As far as I know, yes.
Do we know what charges are pending for him?
Sheriff Steins was placed under arrest and transported to a correctional facility. He was charged with one count of murder in the first degree.
Now, will the sheriff's office have any, will they be helping out with this investigation?
The Kentucky State Police will take the lead on this. Post 13 detectives will be carrying the investigation.
I know schools were placed on lockdown in the area and students were held back. Is there any advice or what is going to go on tomorrow with schools or businesses that might be interested in closing, staying open?
So this was an isolated incident. We did place the school on a temporary lockdown because we didn't know exactly what we were dealing with. Once we were here and was able to clear the scene and deemed that there was no further threat to public, we went ahead and released that lockdown and they went on about their day.
There are a lot of rumors going on social media right now, and it seems tensions might be high within this community. Is there anything that you can say to people right now?
We could use everybody's prayers, send prayers for the family, that they get through this difficult time.
And from, Laurel to Russell to now Letcher County, what has these past couple of weeks been like for the state police?
Very busy. It's been very busy, but that's what we're here to do. We're going to carry out and do our jobs in the way we need to.
Do you know how much longer you guys might be out here?
We should be able to clear the scene within the next 30 minutes.
Any idea what's next for the sheriff? I mean, what does this community do without a sheriff?
That will be handled by somebody else in the days coming. But as of right now, we'll continue to carry out our investigation.
From my understanding, this is the first time something like this has happened in this area. Can you confirm that?
As far as I'm aware, I don't know of anything of this magnitude.
And then of talking just with people in this area, can you provide us, what are they saying to you? Are they angry? Are they sad?
As of right now, I've not had a chance to speak to very many people. It's been a very hectic and busy day, but this community is small in nature, and we're all shook.
what are the next steps? Just, I'm guessing, send it for autopsy report?
That's correct. There'll be an autopsy conducted in the days coming, and just following up on all the leads and make sure we conduct a thorough investigation.
Was it the sheriff's service pistol?
That I do not know.
Do you anticipate that those people who were present will be helpful with the investigation?
I foresee so.
And do you know when the deputy was listed as a deputy here?
I'm sorry?
The sheriff, do you know when he was appointed to sheriff?
He has, I think, spent 2 terms, so going on around 8 years.
To make sure it wasn't anyone else injured in this event?
There was no other injuries reported.
And where was he transported to, the sheriff?
To a correctional facility.
Corrections facility. No specific location?
At this time, we're not going to release that information.
When something like this happens, the community obviously responds. Would you have any words of encouragement to them in the days to come?
We got to stick together and get through it one day at a time.
You mentioned an argument leading up to that. Do you have any information on or details on what
the details was? I do not have at this time. We know that it was an argument between the two that led up, but what exactly transpired prior to the shots being fired, still things that we're trying to get answers to.
How long had Judge Mullins been in his position?
That I'm not sure. I don't have that readily available.
And is the body still inside?
No, it has been removed at this time.
Who appoints the sheriff? Like, who appoints? Who's going to become?
So as far as the process that's going to take place in the days, I'd let somebody else comment on that, and they would probably be better suited to answer that question for you.
Anything else, Trooper, that we didn't ask?
This time, no.
Do you know when the sheriff will have a court appearance?
I do not. That will probably not be scheduled until a later date.
And do you know if the body will be sent to Frankfurt? Or?
To the medical examiner's office, that's correct.
Is the courthouse going to be shut down for any amount of time?
I have not been briefed on that. That is something that those officials will have to work through and decide what's best for not only the community, but the officials that work inside that building as well.
What can you tell us about the scene? Is it very gruesome? You know, what is it?
As of right now, we don't have any of that information to share.
Thank you, Trooper. Thank you.
Absolutely.